Hi, welcome back, and it is Monday and time again for a book report from Steve. And this week I want to talk about this book specifically, Punkzilla by Rapp. It was a Printz Honor Award winner in 2010. It was not the overall winner. That went to Libba Bray's Brilliant and Wild Going Bovine, one of my favorite books. But this book I just finished, Punkzilla, and it is also very good. It tells the story of Jamie, a 14-year-old who is having a very rough time of it. And he is trying to work his way across the country to get to his brother who is dying. Very finely drawn character, developed as a person very well. But this book does suffer somewhat from, I think, trying to touch all the bases for contemporary young adult literature. Jamie is very androgynous. People are continually mistaking him for a girl. He was a meth addict. His parents, his father is fairly cold, the major. He's a military kind of guy. His mother is sort of withdrawn and probably suffers at the hand of his father or stepfather, I can't remember. So he comes from a rough home there, and then he is wedged in between two brothers, although he is the younger, but he has two older brothers. One of them who is the ideal jock and very successful school person, that is probably the major's dream son, and the other son is a gay artist playwright who is dying of AIDS. So we have the gay artistic brother, we have the overachieving jock brother, and in the face of that, Jamie is sort of a slacker and has not been able to find his place and feel successful. Therefore, he's taken to drinking and smoking pot and having a lot of problems getting into trouble at school and things. So he's been shipped off to military academy, and that, of course, doesn't work out well. He gets bullied there, and so he runs away, and he's trying to get across the country to get to his brother who is dying of AIDS. The adventures as he works his way across the country are interesting. It's sort of a Jack Kerouac's On the Road story, but the colorful nature of the characters he runs into are kind of stretch the believability, credibility, and not in the sense of Going Bovine, of the story Going Bovine, where it was just wildly imaginative, but just one after another, he finds people who are out on the edge, and it seems a little, there are no average people in this world, and that may be true to a certain extent, but I'm not sure it works for the book quite that well. Also, there are some things that I had trouble with. Holden Caulfield in Catcher in the Rye pointed out that it's really hard to knock a guy out, and yet in this book it seems to be, it not only happens to Jamie at one point, but he has made a habit of that in his past where he would knock people out and take their money. So he's a mixed bag character, easy to love him, it's easy to hate him, the same with most of the people in the book. And that makes it readable, but ultimately felt a little strained and like we were stretching to get every possible, conceivable bit of controversial topic in order to appeal to teenagers. And I don't know that teenagers need to have lurid tales on every other page or every other paragraph to make a story readable. Maybe that's why it was an honor award and not the overall winner of the Printz Award. So I recommend it. It's a good read, but it's not going to be the best read. If you've looking for even better books, then pick the Printz Award winners. But if you've been through those, then feel free to pick up Punkzilla. What is the Printz Award? Let's talk about that real briefly. The Printz Award was named after a high school librarian from Topeka, Kansas, who was an active member of YALSA, the Young Adult Library Services Association. Unfortunately, he passed away a few years ago. The award was created largely in his memory and honor. He was very active in believing that young adult literature had a place that was important in the lives of young adults, beyond just teaching them the classics, that there were books that should relate more specifically. That obviously is something I feel very strongly as well. I am not as effective as he was. He developed an artist-in-residence program at his high school. Chris Crutcher was one recipient of that. He's a great author. If you're not familiar with Chris, look up his books. Some of the Printz Award winners in the past have included this year's Bone Gap by Laura Ruby, which is very good. Last year it was one of my very, very favorite books of all time, one of my top 3 or 4, maybe 5 books. I'll give you The Sun by Jandy Nelson. Shipbreaker by Paolo Bacigalupi is a great book. First Part Last, Angela Johnson. And of course, John Green's Looking for Alaska was a Printz Award winner. So that's a bit on the background of the Printz. If you don't know what to get and you're looking for good young adult literature, the Printz is a very reliable award to guide you towards some very excellent reading. Punkzilla, not my favorite, but a good book that I do not hesitate to recommend. It is a very lurid tale, a lot of sex, a lot of drugs, may be problematic trying to discuss if you're in a class situation, but for any young adult or adult who appreciates young adult literature, think about reading Punkzilla by Adam Rapp. Sorry. Okay, till next time, don't forget to be awesome, and I will talk to you again soon, hopefully.